Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, if I haven't met you already, my name is Tara Kruger, and I'm the marketing coordinator here at C&W Technologies. Thank you so much for joining us for our AI webinar series. This is a three-part webinar series. This first part is revolutionizing your workplace with Microsoft Copilot, and of course, my phone's ringing. Um, I can't help that. I can't, unfortunately, turn it off. But
Can't hear it.
anyways,
It's okay.
okay, I could hear it. Anyways, so first of all, I want to welcome you all. We definitely appreciate you attending, and hopefully we can, we'll all gain some information from these three-part sessions. So kind of how it's going to roll out. This first session is kind of giving an introduction into the product, and then our next session, excuse me, on June 18th will give us a look into seeing the product in action. So we'll look through a bunch of demos and kind of see how it works, how can we implement it into each business sector. And then our third session, which is on August 30th, will be all about the technical aspects of how this, AI works, the security, and all the important things that you might need to know for this product. And so for today's session, the rollout, I'm going to talk a little bit, give you some housekeeping things, and then I'll roll into a little bit about C&W Technologies, but I don't want to take too much time because then my partner Andrew is going to take over and give you guys a lot of information about our product that we're selling, Microsoft Copilot. So a few housekeeping things. This session is being recorded, and I will be dispersing the recording post this session for anybody who wants to look back and get a refresher on the information discussed. You might have noticed that microphones and cameras have been disabled for the duration of the session. We will not be allowing them, but if you do have any questions or comments or anything at all, please drop them in the chat area, and we'd love to discuss them. I'll be monitoring the chat, so if anything is dropped in there, questions, I will bring them up accordingly. So we could not do these webinars without our clients or participants' feedback. And so we do encourage you strongly to complete the post-event survey, which will be coming after this session. It gives us a lot of information, and it helps us so that we can continue doing these webinars and educating everyone who wants to learn more about the product. So without further ado, let's get started. So a little bit about C&W Technologies. So we've been doing IT right since 1985, as our slogan says. This is our 40th year, and we're super excited to be accomplishing that milestone. And so we are celebrating all year long. C&W Technologies is an IT company. We service Florida. We do service internationally and nationally, but mainly in Florida for small to mid-sized businesses. So we're like if they don't have an IT department, or if they have an IT department that's kind of small, we can do co-managed IT or just take it on fully. We offer services like phone, voice over IP services. We have security services, cybersecurity, networking, management, basic if something is broken, bring it into our shop, we can fix it for you. We're a team of about 15 people, and we have the owner, founder, and CEO. He still works here, Mr. Eric Keene. Unfortunately, he could not be on this call today, but yes, he is still very involved with the business day in and day out. And that's a little bit about C&W. I'm not going to take too much time, as I stated before. So without further ado, I would love to pass it off to Andrew so he can talk to us about the good stuff, Microsoft Copilot.
Thanks very much, Tara. Appreciate it. Always great to be working collaboratively with CNW and with these customers who have kindly given us a few moments of their time in their busy day. Therefore, let me jump right into what this is all about. And you can see from the screen in front of you, the focus is going to be on Microsoft 365 Copilot, and as Tara has already highlighted, it's a series of three. So this is session number one, and I'm going to be presenting you with an overview of what this thing is, what makes it different from the other technologies, and hopefully, if you already have an idea of what it is, hopefully this confirms the info that you have, or maybe causes you to pause and say, not quite what I thought. This is something that's designed for business. And I'm going to try to bring that out and put emphasis upon that to provide some clarity. All right, and so that is new. It actually paused as it was loading there, but I guess it just adds a little bit of a wrinkle. Um, Let me just provide you with this overview out of the gate as to what Microsoft 365 Copilot is. It's a subscription. Nothing earth-shaking about that. But the reason why I want to call that out, that it's a subscription, is because Microsoft has many different varieties and flavors of Copilot in the market today. Let's start with the hardware. Familiar with laptops? They come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. Different makers, even Microsoft has its own laptop called Surface. There are now Copilot Plus PCs. That's what they're called. Copilot Plus PCs. This is a relatively new category of laptop. Actually, first became available last year, 2024. And what allows you to easily identify that it's a Copilot Plus PC is that on the keyboard, there is a button with the Copilot logo on it. And when you press that button, it produces or opens up an instance of Copilot. You're also going to find Copilot on the web. And if we have time, I'll show you what that looks like. There is a web version of Copilot. There is Copilot attached to the browser, Microsoft Edge. There is Copilot with Windows 11. There are role-based Copilots. For example, there is a Copilot for legal. There is a Copilot for healthcare. There is a Copilot for service, a Copilot for sales. There's a Copilot for finance. There's a Copilot for security, and the list goes on and on. There's at least 30 different types of Copilots, all Microsoft brands. The number is going to continue to increase because at the end of the day, what Microsoft is doing is providing you with an AI-powered digital assistant in different places and making it available for you to be able to use it when you need it. There are other AI tools, no question about it. And when we're talking about AI, that's the one thing that can't be disputed in terms of how it's going to be useful and helpful to you just over the course of your day. But here is the question that you actually need to answer. Which AI tool are you willing to trust with your business information? And your business information includes things that are private, things that are confidential, things that are sensitive, things that you don't want external people to have access to, right? There's a person or people that you have hired or who are in place who are accountable for making sure that your business files and documents stay safe, protected, and private. You want to jump into the AI realm. I mean, the era of AI is here. The train has left the station, and therefore every business now has to assess how and when they are going to integrate AI. It makes sense to be able to answer the question, which of these AI tools is not only best for our organization, but which one can I trust? So Microsoft 365 Copilot being the subscription, designed for business, it's the UI for AI. It's the user interface for artificial intelligence. This is something Copilot generally, Microsoft 365 Copilot specifically, is going to allow you to really extend the capabilities of AI within your organization. Because once you have Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription or the license, same thing, once you have the license, you now are going to be able to give some thought to what you want it to be working with. So by default, when you get the license, it's going to have access to and work with your Microsoft 365 data, personal business data, and company data. It's going to live and work within your Microsoft ecosystem. But let's say there is a proprietary application that you have that's on an on-prem server, or maybe there is a non-Microsoft application that you say, it'd be great if I can get Copilot to work with that as well. All of these questions are just going to be a natural outcome of thinking about and talking about AI. This license is flexible enough that if you want it to work with non-Microsoft information and data, it will. Your IT person or IT people will be able to set that up and configure it accordingly. So this is the UI for AI. Sky's the limit in terms of what you'll be able to do once you have this subscription. Point number two, Copilot is integrated in the tools that millions use every day, like Word, like Excel, things that we've come to know as Office applications. Um, this is designed to work with that. And to be very basic and fundamental here, Microsoft 365 Copilot license is all about adding or integrating AI into these Office apps that you're familiar with. So if you're working in Word and you want to leverage the power of AI using other third-party tools, you got to copy and paste that word information into something like a chat GPT, or maybe if you're using Gemini or Bard or Perplexity, or the list goes on and on. Any of those AI tools, in order to leverage them, you have to copy and paste into those tools. Microsoft 365 Copilot allows you to add AI into your Microsoft environment. So you don't have to be copying and pasting. And here's the other thing to consider. When you're doing that, copying something from your protected Microsoft environment into a public, unprotected environment, that's hazardous for any business because you don't have any control over how that data is going to be used by others. Microsoft 365 Copilot allows you, like I said, just to repeat myself, to take the power of AI and bring it into your protected Microsoft environment where you have control. And so that's the added benefit of using something like Microsoft 365 Copilot. It allows you to work within your Microsoft apps and have access to and use artificial intelligence in the app. Point number three, you can also connect to additional business data sources like an ERP or a CRM. What about human capital management in HCM? And you could also connect Copilot to custom applications. So this is something that can reason over all of the data in your Microsoft ecosystem. If you want it to, you can have policies and permissions, and hopefully you have an IT person or people who look after that, making sure that all data isn't available to everybody, but data is available to people based on their role and job description and things like that. All right, so the next point, point number four, and this one is key. Maybe this could even be point number one, but Microsoft 365 Copilot inherits all of your security, privacy, identity, and compliance policies. Whatever you already have in place to protect your data, your information, your files and folders, that's going to cover and include Copilot when you add it to your environment. When you get this subscription, Microsoft 365 Copilot, there aren't any levers or switches for security as a part of that subscription because it's AI. It's available to allow you to add AI to your apps. So where does the security come from? It comes from the base license that you have. If you're already working with Microsoft 365 or with an Office 365 license, that's what I'd be referring to as a base license. That's the license that includes the Office apps like Word, Excel, and Outlook, etc. This Microsoft 365 Copilot is an add-on to that. And so when you add it to that, it now has access to those apps, and that's what allows you to work in those Office apps with AI. And so the security features that exist, that are in place, will also extend to limit or provide access to your use of AI. Point number 5, let's talk about purchase options. It is a 1-year subscription. It's a 1-year subscription, but you have 2 options with this 1-year subscription. On the one hand, you can choose to be billed once a year, and at the time of renewal, pay for another year. Or you can choose the month-to-month billing option, which effectively is spreading an annual payment over 12 months. But there is, I will refer to this as a gotcha, which means the cost that you're going to pay in the month-to-month billing scenario is 5% more expensive than if you go with the annual. Microsoft has added a 5% premium to the month-to-month billing option. So just being fully transparent, you can get into the details of exact dollar figures with your CNW rep, but I just wanted to make you aware of that. If flexibility in payments is something that would be more appealing to you so that you have opportunity to better manage your budgets, if that's something that you would prefer, month-to-month billing for a 1-year subscription exists, but also the less expensive or more economical version is the 1-year subscription billed annually. And finally, point number 6, Microsoft provides tools to help you accelerate adoption measures, such as a Copilot dashboard, which is included with this subscription. And some of the things that you'll be able to benefit from with this dashboard is that you'll be able to view who's actually using their Copilot subscription, who isn't, or who's using it a lot, who's using it very little. You'll also be able to see which of the Office apps, let's say Outlook, which one is being used the most with Copilot, or let me flip that around. Where is Copilot being used the most? And you'll be able to see which of those applications in rank order is experiencing the greatest usage. That could be useful information because maybe the apps that aren't being used with Copilot, on one hand, it could be because they're just apps that people don't use that much. On the other hand, maybe you recognize that this is an app that a lot of people use, but for some reason they're not using Copilot a lot. That might be an opportunity for some additional training, but it's great analytical information that's there that allows you to keep eyes on what your return of investment is turning out to be. That's the overall summary of Microsoft 365 Copilot. It is an AI-powered digital assistant. Now, in a future session of this 3-part series, I'll be showing you a number of different demos or different examples of Copilot in action. For today, I just want to show you this one, if for no other reason than to whet your appetite. I did make reference to Outlook, so let me show you an example of what Copilot can look like for you in Outlook.
Go from rough draft to polished email in seconds with Microsoft 365 Copilot in Outlook. Starting from a new email, choose Draft with Copilot and enter your prompt. Easily adjust length and tone to fit your message, and review. It's good, but let's make it more specific. Happy with the result? Keep it. Now add your own tweaks to personalize your message. Ready to go? Hit send. Try Copilot in Outlook today.
So that's just one quick example, a response that I receive from time to time, not often, but it's a comment actually to say that, well, I can open one of the other AI tools and I can certainly open up ChatGPT, for example. It's the most common, so I'm not bashing it at all. Um, uh, People love it, everyone's used it, and it's great. So I reference it only because it's common and well known. But a person could go into ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT to write an email. Of course, it's going to do a fantastic job because it's AI. Beyond the fact that it's branded a certain way, it's AI. It's going to produce a fantastic output. Likewise with all of the other AI tools. But once again, going back to the question that is going to be the theme through everything that I'm sharing here, because it is the key differentiator, and that is the security piece, right? Which is the AI tool that you're going to trust or that you can afford to trust with your business information? So if you're using one of the other AI tools, saying, write this email for me, it produces something that you really like, now you're going to copy and paste that into Outlook. So you're going from a public environment now back into your private environment. But while it's out there, it's public, and the technology, right, which is an LLM, a large language model, is training itself on everything that it's doing with the data that it receives. And so if someone else asks a question where the information you've provided is relevant to their question, the potential is very high that that information will be incorporated into the response that's provided for some other person. They don't need to know you or your business. It's just the content that is relevant to whatever question or request that they've made to that public AI tool. So if you've got information having to do with mergers and acquisitions and you need to write an email or even reply to an email to someone about this confidential potential transaction, is a public AI tool really the right place to be crafting that email? Or would it make sense to be able to take AI, bring it into your protected environment where there are controls in place, and to draft the email there? You can do that with Microsoft 365 Copilot. In the public environment, you're putting data and information at risk. So yes, you can write an email using any of the other AI tools, but is it the safest place to do that? What we're looking at here then is just another way to summarize what Microsoft 365 Copilot is all about. Copilot Chat, and then there's a work-grounded version of Chat, and I'm going to come back to the things you see highlighted here. The Microsoft 365 apps, agents, the control system and analytics are very closely tied together because that's about security and monitoring of how it's being used. And so just consider the two things that I have circled there, because these next 2 points that I'm going to highlight are very important as well. Copilot Chat is a part of Microsoft 365 Copilot. The Copilot Chat feature is where you can ask a question, make a request, and it's going to have access to all of your Microsoft apps and information. The example I showed a moment ago about Copilot in Outlook is specific to email. And likewise, when you go into PowerPoint, the actions are going to be specific to PowerPoint and each of the other applications. Copilot Chat isn't specific to any one application. It just sources and reasons over everything that's there. Agents are a subset of what Copilot can do. So let's get into these two a little bit more, starting with Copilot Chat. Now, I'm actually going to show you an actual couple of examples here. There's one, there's the other. Okay, first, copilot.microsoft.com. All right, copilot.microsoft.com. Let me just type this into chat here. Microsoft, I can still spell. Good. .com. Now, here's the significance of this. It's actually on the screen. Copilot Chat is Copilot for the web. Anyone can go to copilot.microsoft.com and start using a version of Microsoft Copilot. If you're a person or an individual doesn't use Microsoft at all, maybe they're an Apple user for that matter, nothing wrong with that. But we're all about Microsoft here today. If you are a non-Microsoft user, that's a better way to phrase it, you can still go to this website and start working with a free version of Microsoft for the web. However, it just disappeared from me here. So this would be the free version, and this is what you should expect to see. And up in the upper right-hand corner, it's asking for a sign-in because it doesn't recognize that I am a Microsoft user. I have a Microsoft license. And by the way, everything I'm talking about here with regards to Copilot Chat right now has nothing, doesn't require that you have a Copilot subscription. I'm going to come back to that. This is the free version. Anyone can use it. Now, on the other hand, there is a version of Copilot for the web that a business can use. Still, the link or the URL is the same, copilot.microsoft.com. Now, if I am logged in at work using our company Microsoft 365 license or Office 365 license, when I go to copilot.microsoft.com, it's going to recognize that. And it's going to ask, and it does ask me this question. Do you want the work version or do you want the personal version? It's asking me if I want the work version because it recognizes I have a Microsoft 365 license. I can choose not to use that if I don't want to, but let's say if I were to click on this here, it's going to auto sign me in because I am already logged in. And isn't that funny? Okay, here we go. And so now it's brought me to the protected version of Copilot. Here's another place that we can look at this, because since I have the subscription, if I am logged in and I go to Teams, hopefully all of you use Microsoft Teams for your video conferencing and meetings. In Teams, off to the left, there's a button for Copilot, and when I click on that, it brings me to Copilot Chat, which is the same as the Copilot version that we just looked at on the web. If I'm logged in at copilot.microsoft.com, I can get Copilot Chat. So here's the difference between the web version and what you're looking at, or what you would be looking at in your Microsoft Teams, right? I have this because I have the Copilot subscription. If I don't have the Copilot subscription, I can go to the web and I'll still have access to Copilot Chat. The web version, however, is not the full version of Copilot because I won't be able to do anything in Outlook or any of the other apps. The web version does not integrate with your Office apps. In order to get integration with your Office apps, you need to get the Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription. So what's stopping you from just using the web version and, because you're not paying extra for that and let's not bother with the subscription? No. That's not the purpose of it. The point is this. You want to license as many people as it makes sense for you to license in your organization so that they have the full business license, which is designed for business, which is Microsoft 365 Copilot. And it does all of the things that I've been sharing with you for the last few minutes, including having access to AI right in your application, minimizing, if not eliminating, the need for copying and pasting between a protected, controlled environment and a public, uncontrolled, Wild West environment. That is one of the big values of the Microsoft 365 Copilot license. For those in the organization who don't have a license, and you want to ensure that everyone at the very least is using Copilot, then you would encourage others to use the web version, log in with their credentials. So at the very least, it's a protected version. Microsoft says it's got enterprise data protection enabled, meaning that the chat interactions are not saved. Microsoft has no visibility to those chat interactions, and those chat interactions are not used to train the public large language models. So it's a hybrid opportunity that Microsoft is presenting to you and your organization. So once again, copilot.microsoft.com. If you've never tried Copilot, it's a great opportunity to try it because there are no trial SKUs either of the Copilot license. And so this is one opportunity where you can go in and start typing and trying some things. If you're using the free version, for goodness sake, don't paste any sensitive, confidential information into that. It's the free version. If you want to use the protected version, make sure that you click the sign in and log in with your Microsoft credentials, or again, if you're using the Microsoft license, that's a part of your business and a part of your job, then you're already logged in, and it will recognize that, and it will take you to the protected version until you are able to get to the subscription, which then is the full value business version of Copilot. Let me pause there for a moment. Any questions about what I've just shared? Remember that you can type your question or comment into the chat. I just pause just for a second. I'd be happy to repeat or clarify as the case may be. No? All right, we'll keep moving. I'm going to go back and share my screen again. Here we go. All right, so that's Copilot Chat. Copilot Chat exists on the web, but Copilot Chat is also built in to the Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription, which is the full version for business. The other point that I'm going to call attention to is agents. Agents are the next line of effectiveness, of efficiencies, of potential success for business. Because we start with Microsoft 365 Copilot, the license. And that's going to reason over the entire pie. Let's say it's an apple pie, that's what I prefer, or whatever your preference happens to be. But the whole pie, and that pie represents your Microsoft environment, your personal business data and your company data. Copilot has access to that. But let's say you are an individual or a department or a group within the business, and you start thinking, Microsoft 365 Copilot, like what it does, provides good info and all that good stuff. I wonder if we can get it to reason over just a slice of the pie, maybe just a subset of the data. I'm in HR. Maybe I run the HR department. Maybe I am HR. And I see an opportunity where if we could get Copilot just to look at our HR specific data when it's responding to an HR specific question, that would be great, because then we can manage and make sure that that HR data stays current, up to date, and relevant for any of our coworkers or employees that have HR specific questions. Yes, you can do that. And that is where you would create a Copilot agent. A Copilot agent is an AI-powered assistant that reasons over a subset of your Microsoft data. And so this could be a scenario or opportunity for finance. This could be an opportunity for marketing. This could be an opportunity if you have a training person or a training department. They've got Microsoft 365 Copilot, but they want to fine tune it so that it's only going to look at a subset of your data. Maybe you create something in SharePoint or some type of folder or folders, and you create the agent so that Copilot now understands if it gets a question specific to this particular subject matter, that it will only look at the relevant data pertaining to that subject matter in compiling and producing a response. That's what an agent is. So you have Microsoft 365 Copilot for the whole pie. You have an agent for a slice or slices of that pie. Hopefully that makes everything that you're seeing on the slide here a little bit more clear. And there's levels of complexity too. I would actually use the word spectrum, which is very accurate. At one end, there are some very basic agents, similar to what I just described. That's a very simple agent, does nothing until you ask it a question. And to the opposite end of the spectrum, there are very complex agents that are autonomous. You program it in such a way that you can now set it and forget it, and it will just work on its own based on the parameters that you've provided. Autonomous agents are here, and they are available. And who can create agents? If you have a Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription, you can create an agent. Now, caveat to that, IT has control to the extent that your IT person or IT people can determine if they want to enable or disable the feature of being able to create an agent. But just having the subscription means that the user has the possibility of doing that subject to whatever the rules and regulations are of your organization.
Microsoft
Before
365 Copilot and
Yep.
I did have a question. I didn't know you were
Yes.
pressing play. I apologize
That's
for
right.
that.
Go ahead.
But one of the questions I had, which you kind of addressed it with the agents, someone is familiar with using ChatGPT, and she's trained it to version
agents will
that
transform work.
sounds
Yeah, sorry about that.
like her when it writes. No worries. Can she do the same thing with Microsoft Copilot, even using the free version?
Yeah, so I heard pieces of that, but then I distracted myself when the video started again. If you would be so kind as to repeat that, please.
No worries. I have a question that says she's familiar with ChatGPT,
Oh, I
and
see.
she's trained it to sound like her when it writes. Can she do the same thing with Copilot, even in the free version?
I'll type the answer and I will verbally say yes. Yes. I have the mobile version, right? So I have Copilot on my mobile device, on my cell phone. And yes, you can set it up so that it learns you. It requires that you allow the history to be retained so that it can have points of reference. But anyway, to answer the question, oh yeah, that's a hard yes. Yeah. All right. So with regards to agents, I gave you a bit of an explanation there, but let's take a look at this to hear from Microsoft themselves.
Microsoft 365 Copilot and agents will transform work and business process, helping you scale your impact like never before. Let's break it down. Copilot is your personal AI assistant. It knows you and your work. And think of agents as the new apps for an AI-powered world. They will automate every business process. Agents are created in Copilot Studio, a low-code tool for creating, managing, and connecting agents to Copilot or building your own. Soon, every organization will have a constellation of agents. And Copilot is how you'll interact with all these agents right in the flow of your work. It's the UI for AI. And if an agent needs clarification, it checks with you for direction. Agents will do everything from accelerating lead generation and processing sales orders to automating your supply chain so you can optimize costs and grow revenue. The Copilot control system helps IT professionals confidently manage Copilot and agents securely. With Copilot and agents, you're in control, not just working with AI, but having AI work for you. Get started today and unlock the full power of AI with Copilot and agents.
So I'm hopeful that wasn't too technical. I'm not a technical person, so I wouldn't deliberately, cast a burden of something too technical on you. So hopefully you didn't find that to be the case. But I wanted to share that just to provide a better view, if you will, better understanding of where agents fit in all of this. So today and this series is about Microsoft 365 Copilot, the subscription. But what you'll be able to launch out and do having that subscription then will transform into agents. What are the processes that you have in your organization where it would make sense to create an agent? To simplify things for a particular group. You could even have someone create an agent that you would use on your company website if you have such a thing. So when your customers come to your website, they would interact with an agent. If you have some kind of familiarity with bots, if you've heard about bots, if you've used a bot when you've gone to a website and there's a pop-up asking you, how can I help or what have you. To say that an agent is a bot is a very loose description. It's not entirely wrong, but it's not entirely accurate. An agent, whether it's a Copilot agent or anyone else's agent, the fact that they're using the term agent is because it's AI powered, meaning that there is an AI connection, there's an AI, well, it's powered by AI to some degree. So if you haven't heard the term bot before, you don't know what that is, then just totally disregard the last 15 seconds. You don't have to worry about it. So user, whether it's yourself or whether it's me, family member, neighbor, coworker, employee, you get yourself a Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription, and it's designed for business. So can a home user have a Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription? There is Copilot Pro. That's another version of Microsoft Copilot. Copilot Pro has a cost to it, but it is not designed for business. And if you were to look at that and say, that's a great way to get around having to order the Microsoft 365 Copilot, not recommended for business, because it's not designed to work with your Microsoft 365 business subscription or your Microsoft 365 enterprise subscription. Copilot Pro is for home users, for consumers, and it's best to work with things like Microsoft Family. I think the other one is Personal, right? The consumer versions. So I can't stress enough, for business, for a business that has standardized on Microsoft, this is the prudent option. You can still choose to use any AI tool that you wish. And thankfully, this is being recorded because at least I'm on record making it clear that you can use any AI tool that you choose. I would only ask in response to that, is it an AI tool that you can trust with your business data and information? Get the subscription and then think about what agents would make sense for you to create. Here's another thing as well. There's a link at the bottom here to the most recent Work Trend Index, and this is a report that Microsoft collaborated on to have produced, and they've done this a few years in a row now. But one of the things, and there's many, one of the things that is clear and evident in that report is info about frontier firms. If you've not heard the term before, that's okay. But I would say buckle up, because for the rest of this calendar year and into next year and beyond, you are going to start to hear about frontier firms. The definition, I have boiled it down to what you see in that first bullet point. I don't typically read off of a slide, but just for today, it's a new type of company where employees work alongside AI agents. What does that mean? Aren't we doing that already, kind of, sort of? Kind of, sort of, but this now is about having a supervisor or a manager who traditionally and typically manages human beings. A frontier firm is a business that has said, we are going all in when it comes to AI. We are going to revise our operations and our processes so that we're integrating AI into how we go about doing our business. And so now a people manager is going to not only be managing humans, but also managing agents. And this is not exclusive to the Microsoft realm either, by the way. This is a level of business that is going to start to become more standard. The question for yourselves is this something that makes sense for your business? And quite frankly, if your organization isn't mature yet in this era of AI, that's fine. Everyone is on a different path, but that path obviously needs to be one that is advancing. Ultimately, you're going to start to hear more about frontier firms where they are working with humans and have humans with jobs and roles and responsibilities alongside agents that are responsible for aspects of the business. And between the two, they're benefiting the business to be even more competitive, to be even more successful, more sustainable, etc. To work faster, produce faster, and all of that kind of good stuff. All right, just taking a look at time. Yep, go
Linda,
ahead.
I do have another question.
Mhm.
Linda, she had to drop off, but hopefully she'll get the answer to her question in the recording. She was asking, do website agents require a specific website to interact?
That's a good question because that actually ties back to what I talked about before, where it actually is possible, and I'll use this word, it's plausible for you to have some employees with a Microsoft 365 Copilot subscription and other employees using the protected web version of Copilot. The benefit of that is that agents that are created by your business will be available for use to both the licensed and the web users. So that would be the answer to that question. Website agents do not require a specific type of website to interact beyond ensuring that you're logged in with your Microsoft credentials when you arrive at copilot.microsoft.com. Hopefully that makes sense. And if there are follow-up questions to that, you can let me know. All right. This is the key differentiator between Microsoft 365 Copilot and all of the other AI tools. Yes, it does great work and produces fantastic results in each of the apps. If you are summarizing an email right in Outlook as opposed to having to do it outside and exposing confidential information, it's a benefit to be able to do that in Outlook, right in the application. Likewise, creating PowerPoint presentations in PowerPoint, working with numbers and doing forecasting in Excel and all of the other applications. Because here's the alternative. Shadow AI. Beware of shadow AI. It's always existed. It's going to continue to exist, but it is something that you can keep under control. It is something that you can keep under control. If it's the decision of your business to say, oh, we'll let our employees and coworkers use whatever AI they wish, we like to use ChatGPT. We even use the paid version of ChatGPT, and we have the assurance that our data and information is protected. So we're good to go. Fantastic. I would respond with this question. If you already have your information protected and is being proactively managed and monitored, people are working with sensitive data every day at your business and organization, why does it make sense to copy or cut and paste that into one of these other AI tools and give them the responsibility to protect your data and information if you're already doing that? And you don't have any control over how they go about protecting that data information either. Why not just take AI and bring it into your secured Microsoft boundary where you have the control to this degree, whereby you can decide what Copilot, or in this case AI, you can decide what AI has access to and what it doesn't. You can allow Copilot to have access to this set of information over here, and you can deny access to this set of information over here. That's not even something to consider if you're using one of the other AI tools. And so shadow AI puts your business at risk, especially if you determine that for whatever reason, it makes more sense to leverage uncontrolled technologies with your business. They're great for all kinds of things. Continue to use them, right? Planning a vacation. What are some top museums I can visit while I'm in Venice? I want to get a surfboard. Give me a list of those that have great reviews, and maybe even some more serious stuff than that, right? But when it comes down to the confidential, private stuff, be sure that what you're pasting over there is not something that is going to be available to anyone else. And I'm not sure how you can really get that kind of assurance. You've got internal confidential data, you've got customer data, you've got partner and supplier data, and other types of data and information that, once again, you already acknowledge you don't want external sources to have access to. So continue in that frame of mind. Leverage the benefit of artificial intelligence, but do so in a way where you retain control over what's accessible and what isn't. Microsoft 365 Copilot license allows you to do that. And in combination with copilot.microsoft.com, logging in with your work credentials so that you have the protected version, between those two, you are retaining the level of protection that you have in place today.
I do have another question that came up.
Yep.
So Debbie says, correct me if I'm wrong, but does that put Google in the shadow AI category?
Now, I guess when you say Google, in terms of their AI tool, I would say within the context of Microsoft, if you are standardized on Microsoft, then yes, because unless that company is providing you with access to manage the controls in how your data and information is secured.
What about through the search?
Yeah, just using it typically, find this for me or find that. That's all good. We continue to use all kinds of different tools for search and things like that. I'm speaking specifically about the power of AI, and it's going to become more expansive as time goes on. You want to have some measure of control. And even if we want to just for an instant remove AI from the picture, the message is still the same. You want to have some measure of control over what applications are compliant and permissible within your day-to-day business operation.
When you search something on Google, it comes up as an AI thought.
I've seen
I
that.
think that was more specific to what she was asking.
Okay. And comes up as an AI thought? Yes, because that now is integrated with their AI tool. AI, unless there is a disclaimer that says that their AI is not learning from the search results, I think it's prudent to assume that it is. And I've never seen that disclaimer anywhere with any of the other tools either. So
Going back to Linda Ellie's question about the agent for the website, I think where she was going with the question, if I can find it on here, but I think she was asking, you had mentioned the kind of like an ABot for the website, and I think she was asking if there were any specific websites that it works with.
Well, okay, so I made reference to bots, just I guess further help with the understanding of what we're talking about when we talk about agents. Um, yeah, that's still not clear to me.
Like if you have made an agent or
Yes.
something to grab information from your website, or if someone filled out an information sheet on
Mm-hmm.
your website to streamline it into a process. I think that's what she was asking, if you
Okay.
need a certain website for that.
No, well, right now, typically, you can point when you're creating the agent, it's best to have the content somewhere in SharePoint where it can have access to, and you would point it to that. So you could create a form, still trying to wrap my head around the question. And as long as it's stored or saved in SharePoint, you can point it to that. And are you talking about actually having the bot complete the form?
No, no, I think on her website. I think that's where she was going with the question. I could be wrong, but I think for like assistance on her website. So
Okay,
would
so
she
to create
need,
something, so when a customer comes to the website, they could interact with it.
right, correct.
Yes, yes, you can. That is closer to something that's an autonomous agent, but those are now generally available. You would, in that instance, need to actually get the standalone license called Copilot Studio. Microsoft 365 Copilot will allow you to create agents, but up to a point. So it's for creating basic, simple agents that coworkers, employees can have access to in teams going about their day to day. But something such as this example, which now makes more sense to me, that would fall under the heading of being something that's more complex, and you would need to get the standalone, which is a different license called Copilot Studio, which is just for doing things like creating agents.
Okay. And would that, for like, no matter how you host it or what website, if you're using a WordPress or Elementor or something like that,
Yeah,
would
that's
that
fine.
matter?
No,
Okay.
no. And I see we're at the top of the hour, so let me turn it back over to you, Tara.
Oh, perfect. So, we will keep the chat open. If anybody has any additional questions, we'll bring them up, of course. But I do want to wrap things up. So thank you for attending our informational um, introduction to Microsoft Copilot, and we can't wait to have you attend the next coming series as well. I'm going to drop them into the part 2 and part 3 into the chat, so you are able to sign up for the next events. So part 2 will be on June 25th, and then on June 30th, we'll be talking more about the tech side and security, and that will be on June 30th, like I just stated. So let me copy the link. So that everyone is able to sign up for those. So as I did state, it is imperative if we can get everyone to complete our post-event survey, that would be much appreciated. Again, we cannot do these events without doing feedback from those that have attended. So for more information, if we want to learn more about the product in the meantime, before the next session, you can always reach out to C&W Technologies. Our phone number is 772-287-5215, or you can email us directly at ai@cwnow.com. And so without anything else, I don't see any questions. We have 1 minute over our allotted time. I think we did pretty well. So again, thank you everyone for attending, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day and look forward to seeing you at our next session. Thank you.
Take care.